Hello,
Hi!
welcome to That'll Be the Tism. We are a podcast about our lives as late diagnosed and discovered autistic and ADHD people. Welcome. This is episode 20.
20.
So that's nice. We should probably
Yeah.
be doing like some kind of little celebration
Yeah,
about
maybe we should have done the what we've learned thing
for
that we
this
did in
one.
the last podcast in this one, but you live and learn, and we were excited about doing it then, and
We
that's what we
were.
did.
That was the New Year episode.
Yes,
It's only just dawned on me that this is episode 20. So,
it's a nice round number, isn't it?
we like nice round numbers.
Well, I don't, you see.
What?
No. So, in terms of even numbers, this is a
Okay.
tangent already so close
No,
by
that's all
into the
right. Maybe
podcast.
this should have
It's
been our
I
choice reason.
like multiples of three. I thought you knew this
You
about
did
me.
say that earlier on in our conversation, actually. You did say
Yeah,
about the multiples of three thing.
yeah. And obviously sometimes they're even numbers, but sometimes they're not.
They are
And
triangle
20,
numbers.
yeah, 20 is not a multiple of three. So I'll be really excited about episode 21.
When we hit our like ultimate maturity,
Yeah.
on our 21st, we should wear little tiaras and stuff. I don't know.
You used to
But
get the
yeah.
keys to the door, didn't you?
Yes.
I've got the
Um,
key to the door.
yes.
I think that
Positively.
time's passed for both of us.
I think it definitely has. Yeah, it definitely has. So, welcome to our little podcast.
hmm
Oh, the last episode that we did, Flut, was one of the things I'm most proud of ever out of all of the things ever.
Mm.
Got very emotional when I listened to it back because of how great it was. So, we've got a lot to live up to. And with the plan that we have for this episode, we're not going to live up to it. So, if you've started listening and you haven't listened to the last episode, go and listen to that one.
I mean, that's very defeatist that that's going to be the best episode that we'll ever do, and everything from here on in is downhill.
That isn't what I said.
I mean, it kind of is.
I said that this episode particularly,
It's going to be rubbish.
I'm not feeling confident that it'll live up to what my experience of listening to the last episode was. But yeah, I'm very proud of it. Very proud. We did
Mm.
well.
And the reason it was called flut, which
Yes.
sounds like a swear word, but it's not,
No.
is because I flooped. I
Yes.
can't remember the reason why I flooped,
No,
but
me
floop
neither.
I did, and that's where it's from. Floop is also not a word that actually really exists.
No, but it is something that
Right?
we say. I say flooped.
Yeah.
But flut is just a nice word,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah. I think what the script thought was flute, but it didn't spell it properly.
No, maybe not. Actually, yeah, that's true. It probably
So,
just
depending
spelled flute
on
wrong.
where you're from in the world, you might think that episode 19 was flut, and you might think that it's flute.
Ah, yeah, but it should be flut. Just to
Yes. We
clarify,
think that it's flut.
because we're Yorkshire.
Yes.
And that's how you would pronounce that in
Uh-huh.
Yorkshire.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
typical Yorkshire word that we
Typical
made up.
Yorkshire word flut that
Yeah.
we've taken under the Yorkshire wing, the proverbial Yorkshire wing.
Yes.
Anyway, how have you been, Claire?
Hmm. Right. So we've said it on our socials. My mum mentioned, and she'll like that because the mum mentions come within the first 10 minutes of the podcast.
Yeah.
She'd said that she'd enjoyed the episode that we'd just done, which was Flut.
Hmm.
And I said, well, we're having a little break. When you hear this, it'll have been 3 weeks since our last episode. And I said, it's a good job because we've got a lot to talk about. It'll probably be 3 hours long. Because
Mm.
even at that point, a lot had happened that we wanted to speak about. And since then, even more has happened. And I think that I have jinxed myself because I was going to speak about cars as being my hyperfocus of the week and something that had taken up a lot of my weekends and spare time because I was helping my sister to buy her first car because she's just passed a driving test. And if she's listening, which I don't know if she does anymore, then well done,
Well done.
proud of you, etc. So we've been around every car sales place
Mhm.
in the wider Doncaster area and looked at a lot of cars and found out a lot of information that I didn't need to know about cars.
Okay.
Um, because of all the various ones and which ones are reliable, because she wanted a specific type of car.
Have you put this much
She
effort ever into buying your own car?
No, I haven't.
No, I didn't
This is
think
the
so.
other thing that my husband said to me is you've never been this interested in it whenever I've been buying a car. And I'm
No.
like, well, no, but my dad passed away, it'll be 17 years ago this year. And I feel like I'm the de facto person in that situation that
Okay.
would take on that
Like the
responsibility.
father figure.
Because as much as my mum wants to help and did come with us, her input was relating to, and she was quite honest about this before she came. She's like, I'll tell you if I like the colour, but I can't tell you anything else. So I felt like I had to be, as the older sister, the one that was like, oh, you need to be looking for this and this and this, and have you looked at these ones? And we did manage to get her a car and my Tism powers helped as well, which is why I wanted to speak about it because I was sat in the back of the car while we were doing the test drive and I was listening for all the little noises and the little smells. And my husband and my sister were in the front of the car just chatting away. And we would stop at the lights and I would go, what's that noise? Can you smell diesel? And they're both like, well, it's a good job you're here because we weren't paying attention to any of this. And I'm like, that'll be the Tism. So, because I'd learned so much about what to look out for in this particular model of car and what might be a warning sign, I was the one that was sat in the back of the car looking out for all of that while they were just having a nice, lovely little drive.
That's
Um,
nice.
yeah, so we've got her a car, and I thought, right, that is all that I need to think about cars for the foreseeable future. And then my husband's car got stolen. So now we're having to think about cars again for an entirely different reason because my husband hasn't got one anymore.
Yeah.
And obviously it was a shock.
Mm.
So we've been like processing that over the past few days since it happened, and I've just been getting mad because it blows my mind that somebody can just take something of yours and that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening in the background, but like in my mind, I'm like, no, we need to go and, vigilante justice at
Well,
them, even though I've not got that bone in my body at all.
it's
It,
social justice, but it's like next level social justice because it is
yeah.
actual theft of a thing
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
someone's just
Yeah.
getting away with, and it's not okay. And how can it be possible for morals to be the only thing that stops people from stealing stuff and they
Hmm.
can just get away? I can't even get my head around how, yeah, I just can't.
Yeah.
Can't.
So
I'm
there
so
was
frustrated.
so there was that, and that happened on the same day that I'd decided would be the day that I would hand in my notice at my job.
Just a few small
Um,
things for Claire. Just a few
yeah.
small things for
Um,
Claire this
and I
time.
said to you, was it happened, didn't I? I'm like, this has got to be a sign. And you're like, no, that's not a real thing. Please have a think about this and try and process it before you decide not to do it today.
So you hadn't said in your message, you hadn't said this is a sign, but I know you. This is the thing. This is the difference. You said, oh, well, it looks like I'm not handing my notice in today because this has happened. And I'm like, before you put it down as a sign, and you were like, no, I don't think that's not what happened. And I'm just sat there thinking, yeah, sure,
Yeah,
sure, that's
no,
what
it
happened.
definitely was. It was definitely heading in that direction.
Mm.
But that's funny because ever since when I've told other people about it, I'm like, when I spoke to Emma about it, Emma was like, "Don't take it as a sign," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, that's obviously how I have taken it to be." But like,
Now, I was really, really, really proud when you messaged saying I've done it.
well,
And I
that was it. Like in
yeah.
terms of things that could happen to an autistic person or to any person to make them have a complete and utter meltdown. I think Thursday was probably the day that I should have had a meltdown and
And you
didn't.
didn't.
I'd even planned in my brain and on a Google Word document. We're not sponsored by Google,
No,
but if they do want to sponsor us,
they have money.
why not? I'd planned the conversation and the different ways that it could go and what I could say about my reasons for things. I'd scripted it, and then the meeting didn't happen. And I'm just like, what do I do now then? Because this is just another curveball, another sign that potentially it's not right, even though it's a decision that I've been thinking about for a really long time. And then I just thought, well, if I don't do it now, I'm just going to put it off again, aren't I?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so I didn't do that. Although I did spend a good 5 minutes talking to my manager about the fact that my husband's car had been stolen before I finally got the courage to go. As well as that, I just need to. The
Yeah.
reason why I wanted to meet with you today, yeah, but I think hopefully it'll just be a lot better for me. I think the main thing I keep saying to people is, since I got the diagnosis of being autistic, fair enough, I've been autistic all of my life. It's like being a different person now because I know myself a lot better and I know what I need a lot better. And at the point where I got that job and every other job that I've had in my life, I didn't know what I needed. I
Yeah.
just thought I was being difficult needing certain things. Whereas now, going forwards, I can approach work in a different way so that I've got time for myself and that work isn't affecting my mental health and my well-being
Yeah.
as
I feel
much
the
as
same
it
way.
has
Yeah.
done, because of it not being the right thing for me at this time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really good, it's a really positive move. I am very happy for you. I'm chuffed. I was
So,
chuffed.
for somebody that doesn't like change, I've had a fair amount of change in the last couple of weeks since the beginning of January. It's not exactly been the quietest start to the year for me.
And I'm sure that as you do, you notice and get closer to leaving and stuff and leave, there will be more
Meltdowns.
conversations on the podcast about the situation, is what I was going to say.
Tune
But
in for episode
sure.
21. How have you been, Claire? And what have I done?
Yeah, when we get
I
to like
don't want to do
23.
it anymore. I've woken the dog up now because she thinks that there's something wrong with me because I'm wailing.
Oh,
It's all right, bird. It's all right. Emotional support dog duties are not required at this time. No, you can go back to sleep.
yeah.
She's just like, bloody hell, her again.
Yes.
So how have you been, Emma?
How have oh, well, I don't know. This month so far, we're 19 days into January, and it's gone so quickly, and I've been incredibly scattered. And everyone I talk to is going through similar things, or like it seems to be. And I'm going to do a post on social media. This is my accountability. By the time the podcast is
Hmm.
out, there will be a post on social media about how January essentially is one long transition this year
Oh.
for some reason. And I think, yeah, I've been really scattered and I've been struggling to focus on, well, I say I've been struggling to focus on anything. I mean, I'm getting married in October and the wedding has become a thing that keeps taking my focus away from everything else.
Hmm.
And so that's a thing that I was gonna not really deal with until after January.
Yeah.
And now I've had a meeting with my dress lady and we have a schedule. I've started, my hair could, in theory, be a very good example of autism at play. My hair, until last year, since I found out about my neurodivergence, essentially within about 4 or 5 months, my hair was purple. I've always wanted to dye my hair purple all my life, and I'd never wanted to stand out. So I'd never dyed my hair. Like, well, while I was a teenager and all my friends were dyeing their hair whatever colour they wanted, I never did. I mean, I dyed my hair black for a lot of my teens, and then it's had highlights, it's had all sorts of things, but then it's never been a non-natural colour
Mm.
until about 3 or 4 months after my ADHD discovery, when I first, started trying to unmask. And then when I got engaged, I was like, I'm gonna have to because I want my hair purple at my wedding. And so I planned then, like over a year ago, I made this plan of what I would have to do to get my hair to be the right shade of purple at my wedding, which is one of the most autistic approaches to a
Hmm.
hairstyle that I've ever heard. And I'm very lucky that my hairdresser is very understanding. In the past, if I've been going to a wedding or I've had something big on, I've timed my hair appointments back like
Mm.
over a year to make sure that I was going to the hairdresser at the right time for my hair to be the right colour for the situation.
Mm.
So, yes, I started the process of dyeing my hair for my wedding the week before last when the purple came in, because I've got eczema on my scalp, so I can't just have it bleached and dyed purple. I have to do it in stages, otherwise my head would be a fiery mess. So it's like a 3-stage process. The wedding will be the 4th appointment this year for my hair. So that's nice. But other things, I was like, we'll leave that until February, but they've just come into my field of vision. I've had my appointment with the dress lady, I've booked my honeymoon. Things are happening towards the wedding. I've started all the wedding crafts, which has been really nice because I've got an increasing amount of wedding crafts that I need to be done. And I had started crocheting. So the bridesmaids and groomswomen are all having the same scarfigan, which we've spoke briefly about the scarfigan, I think, in the podcast before, which is like a big scarf with sleeves. And 4 of the people are crocheting their own or knitting their own, and Claire is one of those, and I'm making 2.
I mean, I'm thinking about doing that, and I will be doing that.
You will be, yeah.
Yeah, because I've got the wool now.
I'm going to start being more forceful about it over the coming months.
You don't need to be forceful about it. Especially, I mean, A, not with me because it'll make me not want to do it, but B, with all the other ADHD neurodivergent people that you've got.
I need to be forceful in a non-demanding way.
You did. Have you thought about possibly doing some
Is there
crocheting?
any chance? Could we do like a body doubling session for some crochet, maybe?
Body doubling.
Yeah. We'll have a crafternoon. And anyway, so yeah, I'd started it, but it was a thing that I didn't want to, carry on with. I've been doing anything but carrying on with it because it had just become a mountain in my head. The wedding crafts, I've got 2 scarfigans, 4 ties to make, and my own fascinator. And then we've got to sort out the table decorations and the flowers and all of the rest of the stuff. And I've got to decide what I'm going to pay people to do or what I'm going to do myself or ask other people to help me with craft-wise. So yeah, the wedding's kind of taken over as the main focus, although it shouldn't really have. And I know I shouldn't use the word shouldn't, but because things fall in when they do, and it is time we need to start. It's this year now, it's in October. But yeah, that's probably been the biggest hyper focus for me over the past 3 weeks, and the wedding will be a hyper focus at different times. So over the course of the next few months, it's probably going to be something that I talk about a lot. So apologies to anyone who's anti-wedding, but tough, basically. So that's our intro / hyper focus of the week. And we've told people why the podcast was called Flut, so we're well ahead.
We're well ahead, and definitely on time.
Totally.
The last podcast was, for just a glimpse behind the scenes here, the last podcast was just over an hour long.
Yeah.
The actual recording was closer to 2 hours, wasn't it?
Oh, there was so much editing.
We could have made another podcast.
We probably could have split it into 2.
Yes.
But we didn't do that. We edited the shit out of it. And so there was a lot less tangents. We cut out most of the tangents. But yeah, there's a lot of information in that podcast. It's basically so much of what I do on a day-to-day basis as a coach to help people accept their own autism, but in an hour-long podcast, which is quite impressive to achieve. Not everything is covered, but there's a lot of topics covered that I charge people money to talk about. So, let's just make the podcast less useful.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. Joke. So
make the podcast less useful.
Make the podcast less
well,
useful.
We'll give it a go.
See what we can do about that. Okay, so main section. Rave. Are we ready to rave?
I think so.
Okay.
That'll do. The rave is over, Ben. Don't
worry, Ben.
She never gets used to the rave.
No, I mean it's loud, isn't it?
I think it's more the movement. She's just like, what are you doing, dog bed?
Why are you moving?
This is not proper
This is
dog bed
not what beds
behaviour.
are supposed to do.
No.
Um,
And you've got plenty of dog beds that actually don't move because they are actually dog beds, but she doesn't like them.
but she's your emotional security dog, so
She is.
she's very well
Also,
useful.
absolutely no use whatsoever when your car's getting stolen.
No, no,
Not that kind of security. That's not what she's paid for.
no dog alarms have gone off.
No, she'll bark at a crisp packet falling gently on the floor 19 miles away. But if somebody's breaking into your car, she's not interested.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, give her credit. She would be inside when that was happening.
No, or she was fast asleep.
Yeah.
But my husband just keeps saying to her, "You're a rubbish dog."
Oh, poor
I'm like, that's
Burn.
because she's not a dog, she's a burn. Then they're different.
She's a
But
child.
yeah,
An amalgamation.
yes.
Okay, so the main section.
The main section, the section of mains.
Section of mains.
Yeah.
Which mains are we talking about today? We're going to have a nice pie or a
How are we
steak.
going to phrase this? What the main
Oh, I
section is?
don't. Right. So basically, we're going to talk about other people. We had a request from a listener to talk about the perspective from a family member supporting you. So, how to approach autism with somebody that you are supporting from a neurotypical perspective or from a not autistic perspective, and how to understand that person and how to not avoid bringing up things and to not make assumptions about reactions and about how to have open conversations. So, we're going to talk about that, about other people
Mm-hmm.
and their perspective and our perspective and how they mash into one
Yeah. How
lovely
they can
union.
support you,
Yes,
how they might see things, and how you can ask them to support you.
yes.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we can definitely do that in 20 minutes.
oh, totally, it's going to be completely feasible. I think we've set too easy a task. We're going to fix all of the family communication problems in the country slash world
Hmm.
in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So, the place to start on this is probably that open communication is literally the most important thing in any
Hmm.
relationship ever, because there's so many assumptions in things that aren't said, and communication, whether that's spoken or written, because a lot of conversations are easier to have, especially if you are talking to an autistic person and you are broaching big conversations. A lot of those conversations are easier to have via text because
Hmm.
then you're giving people chance to respond and think about what you've said and revisit what you've said without triggering anything, or potentially if somebody is triggered by something, you can say, can you just go back and read it from a place where I don't hate you? Because it's really important to have that chance to go back and revisit, and then you don't miss things. And
Hmm.
so I'm a big advocate for the whole conversations via text, but I think there's so many assumptions. Like if you're trying to build up to telling someone something or to ask somebody, I mean, generally I think autistic people, if you're asking them a question about their autism, will be glad to talk about it.
Hmm.
It's the same as anything, isn't it? Is where you have any questions about how something works, it's not offensive to say, this is the situation, and I'm just wondering, what does that mean? What does that mean for you with autism? You
Or
know,
how, like, I think sometimes what you might not necessarily realize, and what I didn't realize until I realized I was autistic, really, is sometimes you don't always absorb things straight away. So you could have a conversation and you haven't taken from that conversation what the other person has meant, or you've got overwhelmed and you have stopped listening. And that's not their fault,
no,
and it's not your fault. But it may mean that sometimes you need to check someone's understanding that they have
yes,
understood what you've said, and that can either be by repeating the conversation and saying repeat it back to me, or it obviously in a nice way than that, not like
Just like, now, just tell me what I just
yeah,
said.
you just tell me what we've just said, or like you say, following it up, especially in a work setting with a text or an email or something
Yeah,
like that, rather than just presuming that that person's taking away from the conversation what you meant,
yeah,
which I think is a general thing, isn't it? We can all misunderstand each other, but I
oh,
think
absolutely.
when you're thinking about overwhelm and processing as well,
Yeah, delayed processing is a really, really common autistic trait where, say, for example, I will say pardon to somebody and ask them to repeat themselves, and then before they've had a chance to repeat themselves, I'll understand what they said
Mhm.
and then reply. And
Yeah,
then you've got someone that's half repeated themselves, and then it's like, yeah, the processing delay is a bizarre one. That potentially should have been a trait of the week, shouldn't it? But never mind. But it's part of having patience. There's a lot of patience involved, I think, in communicating.
I think the reading between the lines thing is a big one as well, isn't it? Like you might say something as a neurotypical person to somebody who is neurodivergent and expect that they'll understand the nuance and the context of it and what you're not saying
Yeah.
and exactly what you mean. Whereas because of black and white thinking, what you say is we could go through it and we often do afterwards until the cows come home about what somebody said and what they meant by it. But at the time,
Yeah.
looking for the full
Looking,
meaning of some things is not always there.
yeah, I talk about this a lot with clients in that a common coping mechanism of autism, especially late diagnosed autism, is that we look for hidden meanings everywhere because we're so used to missing them. So, like when somebody starts talking to us with clarity and without hidden meaning, it's great. But at the same time, we've kind of got used to looking for that hidden meaning. So, this kind of works on both feet because
It works
often
both ways
we'd
because some
look
people,
yeah, we'd look for the hidden meaning and sometimes come to the wrong conclusion and then act on that wrong conclusion. Because we have to work at understanding the nuances, we kind of add our own.
looking for the hidden meaning is a coping strategy, isn't it? For the
Yeah,
fact that you don't read between the lines and you have got black and white
yeah.
thinking.
What could they possibly mean by this? And then most of the time we take it to the negative. So the clearer the conversation,
Mhm.
the more you can include in what you say.
Don't expect that somebody would be able to read between the lines, just say what you mean.
Yes,
If you think about it from an autistic person's perspective, quite often we're perceived as being quite blunt
yeah,
because you'll know if we hate something generally, you'll know if we're upset about something because we don't have the capacity necessarily. I mean, you build it with masking,
yeah,
but as a default setting of an autistic person, many of us will either cry or will shout or go, no, I don't like this, no, I don't want this. Think of communication that way.
yeah. So it's basically just stop trying to imply things.
Hmm.
Flirting's probably a good example.
Oh, definitely.
Unless somebody says, yes, I like you, we will find any way to convince ourselves that they do not. And actually, it's just in our imagination, or we just won't see
You
hints.
don't pick up on it in the first
Just
place.
don't pick up.
Yeah.
It's either one or the other. It's not easy to see subtle things.
Hmm.
And to have that ability to say, this person's autistic, what they need me to do is say directly, yes, I like you. Would you
Hmm.
like to go out with me? Whatever. In that situation, rather than, oh, this place is nice at this time of year, or oh, this looks like a nice place to go on an evening. Oh, yeah, it does. Yeah. That's end of conversation, not would you like to go to this place with me?
Mm.
It's that kind of the hint giving and in that kind of initial stage of a relationship, I guess, is a really good example.
Yeah, and it's a tough one because early in a relationship, the friendship and the relationship lines are quite close together, aren't they?
Yes.
That you don't know whether somebody just wants to be a friend or whether they want to
Yeah.
like
So on a date,
have a date. Yeah,
would
yeah.
you
Um,
like to go out for a date to X with me,
mm,
not
mm.
just with anyone? Yeah. I mean, it would make things a lot easier, but it's hard because of obviously rejection sensitivity, but I think it's useful for that context to be, and it's the same with anything. And even down to what do you want for tea? it's like if you respond to a question with I like this and I like this rather than I want this, do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because just because you like something doesn't mean that that's what you want.
I think another aspect of communication is don't give an autistic person too many choices
Yes.
because they'll get overwhelmed. Don't say we've got fish and chips for tea or we've got pizza or we've got burger, what do you want? Because
Yeah.
it requires a lot of thinking.
Yeah. If you're in overwhelm, especially.
Hmm.
But you've got to be careful because then there's a line between demand and so you're like when you're giving someone options for things,
Hmm.
choice is bad. But when you're asking someone to do something, choice is good.
Yeah.
It's thinking about what you want to achieve from the person, what you want to communicate with the person,
Hmm.
what outcome you would like, and knowing that that person is potentially overwhelmed and not wanting to make
Hmm.
decisions, but also potentially demand avoidant. So if you're asking someone to do something rather than to choose something, it's a do you think this might be a good idea? Or I was
Hmm.
going to do this. Would you like to do it with me? It's approaching it in a very, yeah, a very understanding way, I guess.
Mm.
I think
And
with
it's not something that you can start to do overnight, is it? It takes practice, the same as it takes practice for us to understand our own brains and learn how to account for them and know what's going to happen. It's difficult for friends and family members to know that as well, especially when they've not necessarily always known this about you because you've masked and you've not even known that you were masking. So they're not aware of all these conversations that are going on in your head, or the
yeah,
fact that you haven't always understood things, or the fact that you'll have a conversation with them and then toddle off and just think about it for the next 19 years.
the thing is that it's always okay to ask the question. And
Yeah, just it's best to just be, like you say, straightforward, open, honest. Ask how somebody wants to be communicated with, even if you've discovered now that they're autistic, if they've told you that they are, and that's a newer thing that you know about them. Just a little thing like that can be helpful, even if they go, "Oh, I don't know, I'll get back to you on
not
that."
dismissing it is important. So
Yes.
not saying, oh, you don't seem autistic, or making assumptions about their level of autism, I guess,
Mm.
is the, if you find out someone's autistic, then don't make the assumption that they are going to be XYZ and need XYZ because every autistic person is different. And I think
Hmm.
that the best reaction to somebody saying, I'm autistic is, how can I support you?
Hmm.
It's always going to be, you know, how can I help? Is there anything I can do to make it easier or to make XYZ easier?
Mm.
Yeah. That I mean, it's about being open-minded and not being dismissive. And if you're trying to broach a difficult conversation with an autistic person and you're anxious about how they might react, especially if it's a bad news or difficult, something that's difficult to cope with, I think it's really important to remember that with black and white thinking, there is a certain amount where autistic people are often more accepting of certain situations. It's like telling children about deaths, for example.
Yeah.
Autistic people can often find it easier to accept things because things are, as fact, what they are. But just be clear if you're going in with something that could be bad news or could be mixed news to have the answers. As long as you have the answers for anything that you could possibly have the answers for, if you know what you're talking about, if you know what a situation is, go to them and say, this is what's happening. These are the
Yeah,
possible
have as
outcomes.
much factual information as
Yeah.
possible for them to decide.
And it's these are
And
the possible outcomes, and this is where we are, rather than, oh, this might be a thing, end of conversation.
yeah, and I would say as well, don't prejudge what they're going to be like when you tell them. Just because they've taken something badly before doesn't necessarily mean that they will the next time. They might approach it a different way.
And
Especially if you tailor the conversation towards them and give them as many facts as possible, and as much data to work with as possible.
yes. And also, it's okay to say, I appreciate this might be difficult for you to hear, and I appreciate that it might be overwhelming, but what I need from you is.
Mm-hmm.
Because if somebody knows how they can support you, if you're approaching an autistic person and you're asking for their support in a way, I mean, the most straightforward thing is always to be told what somebody you love needs. If you love someone and they need your support, if they can communicate to you how you can best support them,
Mm-hmm.
that works both ways. That question, how can I best support you, works both ways. And if you're
Yeah.
like laying it out for them as part of the initial conversation, then they know that that's how they can support you, and they may need a bit of time to process, but at the same time, if they know what you need from them, that will be what they are working towards.
Mm-hmm. I think it's better to know and be able to have the time to process it as well
Yeah,
than need to process it when things might be more serious.
escalated. Yeah,
If somebody was dealing with something on their own and they thought that they couldn't tell me because of how much it would upset me and how I wouldn't be able to deal with it, and then later it became something that you couldn't keep to yourself, I would feel worse. I would feel so upset that somebody felt that they couldn't
yes,
be honest with me about.
yeah. Often autistic people are hyper empathetic and have
Mm,
extreme amounts of empathy. And if we find out that someone has been suffering, especially someone we love, especially someone we're close to, if we find out that they have been suffering for a long time and they haven't told us, not even for a long time, even sometimes I've had conversations with my mum, like my mum lives a couple of hours drive away, and I try and speak to her every week if I can. And I've had conversations with her, like last week I had a conversation with her where something had happened and she'd been upset and she'd been feeling rubbish and she hadn't told me because she didn't want to bother me, and it's understandable, but I felt awful because I hadn't known. I'd much rather be called, and be asked and be able to be there to support the people that I care about.
mm,
And having high empathy is common with autistic people, whether we can express it or not. Often the case is where the assumption is there's low empathy, when in the reality is the struggle to express empathy.
mm,
So if you are close to somebody who is autistic and you are not autistic yourself, then remember that they will be probably wanting to support you in any way they can. They just
mm,
might not be able to express that. And so, if something is going on that they're going to find out at some point, the sooner they find out, the better it's going to be for all parties, because they will be able to provide the support in their way, in the way that
mm,
you are clear with them what you need, then and patient for them to process.
mm,
And they won't want it to be all about them. But the longer you leave it, the bigger it is when they're told about it, the more difficult it is to process, and therefore the more it is likely to spiral and seem like, they're not being caring or empathetic or any of those things
yeah,
that are quite stereotypical about autism
mm,
when you look at it in the extremes. It is difficult to broach a difficult conversation. If you're having a really hard time telling someone you're having a really hard time, especially if it's a medical thing or a big thing, a classic big thing, or a job thing or whatever, or a car's been stolen.
mm,
It's difficult to broach those conversations, but it's really important. And like you said, with your example of your husband's car, you took control and you said, right, we need to
mm,
do this. And you rang the
yeah.
police and all that stuff. And that's something that is important to acknowledge that we do.
I do need to find a different way of him telling me bad news though, because it's become a bit of a trigger that when he says my name in a certain way, I know he's going to follow it with something bad.
Yes. Yeah. I think my fiance has that actually. I think I can identify his tone when something's not quite as he wanted it to be.
Mm,
I can identify that. Thinking about it, I can, yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, I suppose it's difficult because that's going to be the gut reaction, isn't it?
Mm.
But yeah, does that cover it?
I mean, it covers a lot of the communication side of things. There's a lot more different aspects that we could probably talk about in future episodes. We tend to approach these conversations, don't we, from our perspective as autistic people, but sometimes it's also nice to think about the fact that some people might be listening to these podcasts because they know an autistic person and they might want to
Yeah,
know more about them. So maybe just in the future, maybe we'll think about it from both ways. But it's difficult because we're not
we're
not
not.
autistic people.
No. But also, I think it's useful for us to consider what other people might be thinking and how they might be
Hmm.
worrying about approaching us with XYZ, because it might be that someone tells you something and it is a bit later than what you would have liked to find out. But that isn't because of you, that's because they weren't sure how was best to tell
Mhm.
you. It's because they were anxious about it or they were worried about it, and it isn't a reflection on
It's
you
not a reflection
failing.
on you and your ability to cope. I think it's a protective thing,
Yeah,
isn't it?
absolutely.
But
It's
you
best not
don't know
to.
where that person is on that day and what
Yeah,
they've got the capacity to deal with.
yeah,
You have to take it on a daily basis, don't you? And if you think, now today is not the day for me to have this conversation, that's fair enough.
yeah.
You've
But
grown up and you've allowed to make that decision for yourself.
yes, but yeah, overarching openness and honesty and clear communication without hidden meaning
Yeah.
is generally a good way forward.
And
Saying
as
what
much information as you've got,
as you've got.
because we work with data and
Yeah.
it helps you to process it and understand it. And
It helps it be less overwhelming. And it's
yeah.
strange because some people would say potentially that too much information is overwhelming, but we have so much information, we take in information from so many places
Mm,
that if it's the right information that is correct and relevant to the situation, rather than not enough and then our brains go off and try and
hmm.
find the information when we don't
Fill
have
in the
the full
gaps, yeah.
detail, fill in the gaps, that's where the overwhelm comes. Whereas
Hmm.
if you are presented with a case that is clear and has all the information, even if it feels like, I mean, if you ask an autistic person to describe how to do something, they will tell you in micro steps. I think
Hmm.
there is part of the diagnosis process is how
Yeah.
to brush your teeth, isn't it? That's right,
Hmm.
isn't it?
Yeah.
But I've heard of people being asked how to describe how they brush their teeth.
Mm.
And it's like, I don't know what a neurotypical person would describe that as, but I would go into detail into each step. And it's like when I used to work in an office and I was giving someone a handover, my handover emails would be like pages and pages
Hmm.
because every single detail has to be covered so that they are in any situation, should anything happen, they know exactly what to do.
I was
So,
having this conversation today with somebody actually about what some people would call waffling or rambling in an email, and what we're actually doing is giving as much information as we possibly can. And sometimes you have to go back and go, that person doesn't need to know that information.
no,
Does this affect what
is
they will
this
take
relevant?
from this? Yeah, the default automatically for a lot of autistic people is the overshare or the what they
Right.
call a TLDR, in it. Too
Yeah.
long didn't read. I'll sometimes look at my emails and just go, why do I just get one word email replies back or text
Yeah.
message replies when I've literally written,
War and
I've
Peace.
definitely written several books in my lifetime of
Yes. So have I.
words. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important perspective, which I hadn't considered until now, is that is why autistic people do that. And when you are giving them some information, then do the same. Try and
Yeah.
do the same. Try
Like,
and be as detailed and cover the bases because
mhm.
somebody will. I mean, another example is when we did our powers of attorney earlier in the year. I say we did them earlier in the year, they're still sat in the bleeding living room. But my friend, who my fiance has asked to be one of his powers of attorney, she's basically come back and said, but I need a list of everything that how you want
Mhm.
me to act in every situation that you could possibly imagine. And I need that list. And that is a classic example of
Mm,
we need the information to be able to, for it to not be an overwhelming thing. And for us to know that, okay, well, whatever happens, they've given me instructions.
yeah.
I was always called very thorough and thanked for being very thorough when I was
Mhm.
doing handovers. And I'm just like, well, what other ways are to be? But
No.
yeah, that's an autistic trait, which is a fun one.
Mm.
Okay, so If anyone has any questions about that topic or is interested in us talking a little bit more about the neurotypical perspective as best we can, as Claire said, we're not neurotypical, we ain't got a clue, but we can try.
No, but I
um,
mean, we've been trying to be neurotypical for nearly 40
for a long
years,
time.
so
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Whilst the whole time
not
failing
being.
miserably at it. But yeah, I mean, it's going back and thinking, oh gosh, I didn't realize that was an autistic thing, like 5 million times a day when you first find out.
Mhm.
But yeah, the handover emails was one that's literally just dawned on me.
It was when you were saying it, I'm like, yeah, it's like I'd rather you have too much information than not enough.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the main segment.
Yes.
Wahey, woohoo, waha.
So, trait of the
Trait of
week,
the
which I
week.
don't have a little brain song for.
No. But trait of the week this week is pebbling.
Pebbling.
A couple of weeks ago, we had a play date with one of my son's school friends after school. And at the end of the play date, my son's friend kept trying to give him things to take away. And it's something that happens here as well. I know my son, when his friends started coming over first, saying, oh, can I give them this? And can I give them this? Anyway, this little lad's dad had said to me, I don't know why he's doing that. I'm like, it's pebbling. It's just a way of expressing how
Mhm.
happy he is that the play date's happened without having the words to be able to give to it. So, giving a gift or giving a non-verbal communication to like show that you appreciate somebody is an autistic trait. You know, my fiance buys me treats and food and things that I like all the time,
Mhm.
and communicating in GIF form is a really common way for autistic people to communicate, sending reels and things like that.
When we were talking about it, I was saying that our friend of the show, we tend to communicate via gifts, and it's also a way of communicating without communicating and
Yeah,
touching base without. Quite a few of us do that really, I think. I'll
yeah,
often just get a random reel or a random TikTok or
yeah, I do. I get them from people and I
a
try
random
to send
meme
them.
of uh what's it called?
Hmm?
Um the guy Rick Astley.
Yes,
But yeah, even just pictures or like we do it to each other with penguins, don't we? We just send each other a penguin.
yeah. And there's certain people that if I see a reel that is on a certain topic, there's like a list of people that spring into my head, and there's like
Hmm.
different people for different subjects that if I see a reel about something and I'm like, oh, this friend, I need to send them it, or I need to message that
Mm.
person, like tag them in it or whatever. And it's a nice way of easily letting somebody know that you're thinking of them without
Hmm.
having to construct words into a sentence.
It's
Um,
expressing a sentiment of
yeah,
caring about them, isn't it, without actually having to do that.
yeah,
The best ones are where some people would say that wouldn't be enough input, but you'll send it to somebody and all they'll do is heart it
yeah,
or like it. And it's like sometimes that's all you need. That's
yeah.
their little pebble back to you to say that they've.
There's no sort of forced interaction.
No.
That sounds potentially sounds harsh, but there's
Mm.
no like pressure. You know that you can send someone something and you don't then have to have a conversation with them. So it's
Mm.
something that you can do when you're low energy, is send somebody a reel or, with the mutual understanding that what
Mm.
it is. And we've seen this and thought of you and and
It's a shorthand for that into
yeah,
in the digital ones and then
actual gifts when you see
the
people.
actual physical gifts, yeah.
I often, if I'm out and about and I see anything Dachshund related, I will either buy it for Claire or send her a picture if it's like going to cost me
Mm.
more than a few quid, and say, because I know when I went to Hyper Japan, there was
Mm.
some paintings, wasn't there? But it wasn't the right
Mm.
kind of Dachshund.
No, I'm very
Um,
snobby. They've got to look like Bernie.
well, that's fair enough. I knew that. But I know that when I gave you your Christmas card the other week, and I'd
Mm.
completely forgotten that there was anything in it that wasn't a Christmas card, but there was a little
Yes.
Dachshund magnet, wasn't there?
Yes.
And it's like, oh yeah, that's a thing that I bought, like random coasters. And
Little tokens
it's
of
just, yeah, if you're out and about and you see
appreciation.
something and you think, oh, and
Mm.
I've got a collection of things for like one of my friends that our one day giver. It's on a certain thing I keep forgetting to take when I see her. So yeah,
But the thought's there.
the thought is there, whether she knows it or not. The thought is there. So yeah, that's our trait of the week.
Hmm.
You're welcome.
Yes,
Mm.
you're welcome for
Our
that.
time. It's always a pleasure.
Yes. So I think that's about it, aside from POTUs.
Photos.
We were talking earlier, weren't we? We were saying, have we got any random animal things of late? And it was nearly crab time.
Nearly crab time.
But the crab that I've followed on social media for some time, currently they are in the process of building up to molt. So we've said we'll wait for that to happen
Yeah, then we'll
before we
talk about
speak.
crab. If anyone is a new listener to the podcast, then a few times at the end of the podcast when we've gone on to the animal facts, Claire has said, is it time to talk about this crab? Because it's like a backup fact.
It's a backup animal fact, yeah, is the crab. Because I'm always watching the crab.
Yeah, always.
So I will always have something to say. We'll
Oh,
leave it there. And we'll talk briefly about POTUs, which was sent to us by a listener and friend of the show as a pebbling gesture. And I'd never seen POTUs before, and you'd never seen POTUs before. And it was a baby POTU. The baby POTUs don't camouflage themselves, but the adult ones do. And they do it very well.
now I've seen that the younger ones can look like the
Oh, maybe it was just the one
the
that she
young
sent me
ones. Yeah,
then. The
the
one
young
at the
ones do.
beginning.
Mm. The young ones look like, I've just read it somewhere earlier on. They look kind of like foliage,
My
whereas
friend did say she'd never seen one that was so uncamouflaged before, so maybe it was just an
yeah, I
albino
think
one.
it might have just been that one because from what I saw, they, from being very young, they look like trees. It's insane. They
They
look
look
like
like the
trees.
wood, don't
They
they?
look like
Like,
wood. Yeah. So they're very cleverly camouflaged. And I was saying, like, maybe this is another one to add to the autistic animals because of
mm.
how well they camouflage into the background.
Especially
Um,
when we then read that they camouflage, but then when they're spotted, they and then just
freeze, and
scream
then
in
when
people's
someone, yeah,
faces.
when someone goes too close to them, the only defense they have is to just scream in their face, which sounds quite autistic, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
But yeah, potus are nocturnal, they feed on insects, they are birds. I don't know where they are found. I have not taken in that piece of information. Whereabouts are they in the world? That's the question. Central and South America. On Wikipedia, there's the great potu is the largest potu species. That means there's a number of potu species.
And they're known as a ghost bird, aren't they? We
Yeah,
found out as well because they have a haunting, sorrowful call that sounds like a crying spirit, which
yeah,
is
it's
very autistic.
quite scary when you look up a video
Yeah.
of the
Ghostly yellow eyes and its
mm.
supernatural ability to camouflage itself.
But the mouth opens a scary amount.
Yeah.
My son, my son plays this flash game called Sprunky, which is the bane of my life. It's not, I mean, yeah, it is pretty much. There's some good bits, but most of it's terrible. And one of the characters there opens their mouth like just as wide as the Potu. And I need to maybe show him a video of it, and then he'll maybe make a little character out of it because that's the kind of thing that he does. Yeah. But yeah, the mouths open very wide when they're squawking
Mm.
and trying to defend themselves.
That's the only defense that they've got, isn't it? Is just screaming very loudly with the mouths wide open. The animal of the week. We don't have many animal facts, but it's the animal of the week.
We could maybe make an animal of the week.
Yeah, we could definitely have an animal of the week. We
I
don't
think
always have to get
they don't have
obsessed
to
in the
be.
minute details of the animal.
No, but I think an animal of the week is probably quite a good addition to the podcast after the trait of the week, just to
Yeah,
finish things up, you know,
yeah.
try and
It's
keep
a
it
bit of a low
simple.
effort one.
Yeah,
And then maybe one day I can tell you about my crabs.
yeah, maybe one day you'll tell us about your crabs. But for now, that'll do, I think.
I'll keep them to myself.
Keep them to yourself. Yeah, just that's just one for you to keep private.
For today,
But if you
anyway.
have any questions or if you wanted to talk about anything specifically on the podcast or you want to tell us anything or you want to review us, then please contact us at that'll be the tism@gmail.com. It would be nice if you could review us on the platform of your choice. Give us some stars.
Oh, yes.
That would be lovely. And all of our links can be found at linktr.ee/that'll be the tism. Let's do our slashes again.
Interpretive/dance.
Interpretive/dance. Yeah.
It's like flash dance.
But with slashes.
Unless
Nudity.
Well, tune into our YouTube to find out. I am not nude. Please
No.
don't.
We're not doing a nude podcast ever.
No.
I am definitely ruling that out.
No, it's too cold.
It is. Oh, there's lots of other reasons. I do have a radiator in my office, but
I've got a heated chair.
have you?
Oh,
Of
yeah.
course you have. Yeah, yeah. Of course you have.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember now. The driver's seat and the passenger seat in my car can be heated, but to me it just feels like I've wet myself when I have the heater on my chair.
My car's not that sophisticated. My
Oh.
husband's car was.
Ah,
It'll never have a warm bum again.
I mean, that's
Bloody thieves!
a bit dramatic, isn't it? But yeah,
Well, I'm sure I will have a warm bum again.
I'm sure you will. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody's got to have something to aim for, haven't they, in life?
Absolutely. The car thieves don't have complete control over the
No.
temperature of your.
And they've got no compassion for the fact that they might make my bum cold.
No, none. That should have been their main priority. What were they thinking?
It should have been, yeah.
How ridiculous.
Think about what you're doing to that woman in that house that's very, very particular about things.
And on that note,
Anyway,
have a nice fortnight, everybody.
yes,
We'll be back with
we will.
episode 21 in a couple of weeks. Thank you for listening, and we will speak to you in a fortnight.
Goodbye.
Bye.